You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As we move kind of into the third segment, though, Brian, I want to talk some about the future of this because Connor Wegman is, he wouldn't have come to Houston if he weren't going to start in 2025. He has 2 years of eligibility, so I guess he could be back in 2026. With college football, it's hard to tell who's going to be back when, right? Keisean is committed in class 2026 kid. There are a lot of people talking, though, after the spring he's having about the Power 4 offers he's getting at quarterback. The future of this thing, right? Houston's had good quarterbacks. Keisean, Greg Ward, go back to Andre Ware, right? When you see this as a national guy, it's easy to get like in the fog inside of it, like myself or other Houston Cougar fans. Do you see something spinning and changing, or are you still waiting to see?
Well, I mean, if you mean where Keisean's going to end up, I mean, I think if I had to pick, I'd still say it's Houston, but he's going to take visits. I'm convinced of that. He's talking to too many schools for it not to happen in some capacity, and I would too. You get money on these visits, whether it's legal or not. He's going to get money. That's how that works. I don't really care if that's NCAA's got as many teeth as a dead person, so it doesn't make any difference. But they're pathetic. So
they're pathetic is a good way to put it.
It's one of the most worthless institutions on planet Earth. Besides that, they're doing great. But at the same time, the key here is he's got to play out. He didn't get recruited as a quarterback by anybody but Houston initially. It's just kind of an awkward deal. Again, he looked a lot better. I saw with my own eyes from 5 feet away. He could spin it. So we'll see. I think he won't care that Wegman's there for another year because he would still play in some capacity. He'd probably play receiver some or whatever, and he'd run packages, and he'd be the backup. So, and Wegman's, let's be honest, he's kind of injury prone. Keisean probably start at some point during the year if I was to guess.
Or, obviously get a couple drives while they're figuring out what's wrong with an ankle or something like that.
Sure.
So I guess that's a good way to put it. He's not going to be scared off of, hey, I'm getting these visits and you've got Connor Wegman there. Like that's not enough to break the loyalty that it feels like he's holding. Because my understanding at this point is that Houston offering him as a quarterback as early as they did is really carrying a lot of weight right now. Is that your understanding too?
He didn't tell me because I didn't ask. I probably should have. But loyalty matters. And like the 7-on team he played with was a bunch of local kids, Houston to San Antonio. It's 3-hour drive or whatever. Right. And he knew the guys. One of his teammates at his high school was on the team. He likes that stuff. So he's kind of a home guy. If you're loyal to him, he'll look at it. And again, he can pick up the phone right now and go to LSU. He can pick up the phone right now and go to Florida State. He can pick up the phone right now and go to Auburn. All these places that have crazy crowds, more money, NIL that is insane. And he's committed to Houston. He's not your normal guy.
He's not. I have one question on the weirdness of him in a second. But, NIL money is one of the things you cover. And I don't mean to say that you're in the weeds on every Houston Cougar NIL dollar because there's no way you can do that for every single institution.
If I ever do that, please shoot me.
But I think it's safe to say that it does feel like people know he's a big deal and whatever dollars they have to throw, he's getting them, right? Is there a threshold as you see it where guys are like, hey, once they get past X, they're all kind of like, that's not the most important thing as long as they have some baseline of, X, Y, Z or whatever? Or is it more person to person? You've done this across the nation. And again, we get pigeonholed.
It depends on the scenario. Let me give you an example. I won't go into the kid, but I know of a recent scenario. Kid probably doesn't have the best leadership at home. The high school coach made it known wherever he goes, I'm getting a cut. Now, personally, I'd like to go beat the you-know-what out of that coach.
That's pretty bad coaching, yeah.
And it changed where the kid went to school, and he made a bad decision. So everything is based on scenario. Now, I can tell you from knowing Keisean, I don't know the other kid. I'd met him, but I don't know him. Keisean's too sharp for that. And he don't give a crap what anybody thinks. He's going to do what he's going to do. So, and I'm not just talking about a hard-headed teenager. He knows he puts his mind to something he can't, and he's got gifts he can't teach, obviously. But He wants to be comfortable. He wants to play the spot he wants to play. If they're competitive, it ain't going to. I'm going to tell you right now, Houston ain't going to offer what like the Gators are going to offer, or what Auburn's going to offer. Like the big Yellowwood company here in state of Alabama where I live does lumber and all kinds of things. They're a big sponsor. Like just them alone, they can do whatever. He will get 7-figure offers to go to other schools. Does Houston match that? Maybe, maybe not. But they probably won't, if I was to guess. There could always be one boot. It only takes one person to say, you know what? This is a lifelong opportunity. I'm going to die in 5 years. I want to see this team make a playoff run.
Well, if you're Tillman Fertitta, I guess he's about to be an ambassador somewhere, maybe a parting gift. I just wonder, because it's all, I mean, again, I coach high school basketball and I do this. It's all so much more money than I was ever going to see. I feel like at some threshold, intuitively, I would be like, well, how much more do I really need if I can be close to home and, those kinds of things. But also, there's some people that had a lot less comfort growing up, just different levels of what you need and what you don't need. And so I don't know what every kid, where Keisean be on that. I would think playing in Houston would be a big deal, though, right? He loves the city.
I would assume that's one of the reasons he made his initial decision. Why else?
Yeah.
It's not like Houston was lighting the world on fire.
Well, he committed super early, too. He could have waited. Even he liked Houston. He could have waited to commit, I guess, right?
True.
So last question, because he is very smart. He is very gifted, and the future of the program, if he comes, and I thinking it's really going to happen, is pretty bright. What's the deal with this raccoon skin cap?
He wears it wherever he goes. He just likes it.
It's very unique. You can find him right away. It sticks out like a sore thumb. You hadn't found anything there. It's just his thing.
I haven't asked him. I'm sure he gets asked all the time. I don't care. It's funny. When the last time I was with him, we were in the middle of a conversation. This little kid walks up and says, "Can I get a picture with you?" I think the kids like it too.
The kids like. So what you're saying is the NIL program is we'll sell a bunch of hats, and we can
don't laugh. That's a thing.
We can sell a bunch of hats and say, "Hey, every dollar's going in your pocket, kid."
There you
go. Brian, you got a brand new show, so I want to make sure you get a chance here to plug it because Houston Cougar fans do follow recruiting. They liked you when you were on as the recruiting expert. Now you get our own show. You can be an expert on your show. Where can people find that show? What is it called? Give people the details on that because it's a fun project.
If you just search the portal on YouTube, or if you search it on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Sports Spider, wherever you get your pods, you can get the portal. And we're, of course, just easy to find based on that word. Think about it. If you follow recruiting, when do you not say the portal once in a while? That's why we named it that. It's easy. So with that, we cover recruiting, NIL, and the transfer portal all day, every day. That's what I talk about. And I'm going to start doing breakdowns of top 100 lists, top kids in Houston. I just did a show on Dallas, on National Signing Day. One of my buddies covers Houston area stuff too. I might hook up to that, but got one buddy who did one on Dallas. So we cover it from different perspectives. Booby Feaster is arguably the best player in the country in class 27 from Dallas. We talked about him. He retweeted it. You know what I mean? Like, Booby's a great kid. But there's all kinds of things to talk about because it's all roster management every day of the week.
So what I'm not going to rub in that you just did Dallas before Houston. I mean, come on, Brian.
It is what it is, man.
It is what it is. Obviously, as more comes out about Keisean, transfer portal, Houston, if big-time recruits want to come play with Keisean, those kind of things, we'll be sure to get another crossover in soon when those kinds of things happen. Make sure you go check out the portal, wherever you get your podcast. Thanks again, Brian. I'm excited that you think that Keisean's going to be a Coug as well. I wrap up with Go Cougs every day. We're not going to think about what Notre Dame did to Conor Weigman as we get into the fall, though. We're just going to flush that one. Flush that one.
That's fair. That's fair.